Hello, everybody. Happy holidays. I thought I'd do something a little bit silly today and wear my jiggle, 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 jingle, jingle, jingle elf hat. So today on Empowered Conversations, thank you all for joining me. My special guest, I'm so excited to announce, her name is Vickie Griffith. And so basically, she went from, during her teenage years, she says, I went from a ho-hum, unhappy, overweight, I don't like to use the word fat, but overweight existence as a teenager. She is now 70 pounds lighter, and she kept these pounds off using simple, easy to implement tools that stopped the food cravings, managed her anxiety, stopped self sabotage, and kept peace and calm, even through obstacles. How important that is to cultivate a mindset that enables you to persevere through obstacles. That's what it's all about. She is also an author, a book called Stuck Up. That's all about breakthrough path to unstuck yourself, and you can be right. So her book is called Stuck Up, a breakthrough path to unstuck, and you can be right about everything and still have nothing. She's a professional speaker and a licensed minister. She's known for her infectious enthusiasm and deceptively low-key approach to speaking and traveling throughout the country, offering keynotes, coaching, and workshops. All right, everybody, help me in welcoming Vickie Griffith. Hi, Vickie.
Thank
How are
you.
you today?
I am great. Thank you. Thank you for that introduction. That was awesome.
Oh, you're so welcome. Your beautiful blue background matches your
Thank you.
beautiful blue eyes. I love it.
That wasn't
Yeah.
on purpose, but it worked out pretty well.
Yes, it does. It's like, wow. So thank you so much for joining me today on Empowered Conversations. So tell me,
Yeah.
Vickie, we'll just start, with how you talk about being an overweight teenager. And so what do you think was causing you to be an overweight teenager? And I know it's caused by overeating. We're not talking about the physicality of what was,
Right.
but what emotionally and mentally do you think was contributing to you making those decisions to fuel your body in that way?
Well, actually, it started at birth. So at birth, I was a chunky baby
Okay.
and I was a cute little chunky toddler. And then about 3, it's not so cute anymore to be
Right.
chunky. So I grew up fat. And I know you had a hard time saying that, but that's the truth. I was fat. And I didn't seem to learn how, or my mother tells me a story about after I was born. So as a newborn, I was actually switched to a different mother. And my mom was feeding the baby, and at that point it was all bottle feeding. And she said the baby was just taking her time, and she's like, "This something's wrong. This isn't my baby." And she undid the blanket and discovered it was a boy. She goes, because
So
I
you were still at the hospital.
yeah, at the hospital.
Okay.
So even as a newborn, I couldn't get enough. There wasn't enough food. I always ate really fast. So I was just always really chunky. I always ate more than I needed because there was this insatiable feeling that I had.
Hmm.
Now, it's really hard to emotionally go back and say, what did it happen? Some people might say it came from a past life experience. I'm open to that. Other people might have said, it's just because your parents overfed you. Okay. And they didn't want to deny me anything. Yes, that's all true. That's hard to say. But what happened by the time I was a teenager is I was so emotionally scarred from being fat that my whole existence revolved around eating, not eating, agonizing, worrying about what I should be eating and not eating. Because by the time I was a teenager, I'd probably been on, oh gosh, at least a dozen diets. I was put on speed by my doctor
Oh
as an
my,
appetite suppressant at 10. I drank Tab, of all things. I just heard they're
I
discontinuing
remember that.
it.
My
Can't
grandpa used to drink
believe
Tab.
it shows my age, but oh my gosh, it's such horrible. I can't believe I drank that. Anyway, so as a teenager, I became emotional scarred around it, and my self-image became scarred, and my confidence became scarred, and that followed me in through my adulthood, and that's what I finally got rid of and released. I didn't get rid of it. I released it, and I know how to manage it because we always have new learning levels.
Mm-hmm.
And when a new learning level comes about, then there's a new insecurity and self-doubt about it. And so you learn how to manage those differently than by eating a family bag of potato chips and calling it a single serving.
So tell me about this. So what happened and how did you cultivate a mindset shift
You know,
that
it
created
was,
a behavioral shift?
yeah, exactly. And here's the honest truth about all of that, that 99% of us will not change unless it's too painful. Whatever experience we have is too painful, and then we'll actually change because change is considered painful. And
Right.
so what we want has to be just as painful as the change will be. And so that's what happened. It became very painful for me. I was, like I said, 70 pounds plus, and I just had enough of the self judgment and the self criticism. And I knew that I didn't want to give up fast food, which is what I was eating
Right.
every weekday. It
Right.
nurtured me in some bizarre way. I can't even explain that.
Well, fast food does taste good.
It does.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of studies and research that shows what they put in fast food, we
Yes.
crave it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we want more. And so I just decided that I was going to stop dieting. Number one, stop dieting. I could eat whatever I wanted. I, of course, cut my portions back. Most people don't hear that. So I cut my portions back. So instead of the Whopper, I get the Whopper Junior in a small fry, or I get the kids' meal at the at the takeout for the drive-throughs. I would get smaller portions. So then, of course, I'm eating lesser calories. So therefore, I'm letting go of weight. And then I decided to do another thing. I went on a mental diet.
Mm-hmm.
And the mental diet consisted of anytime I was criticizing myself about my weight, about myself, anything in general about myself, which happened often throughout the day. Anytime I felt judgment or criticism, I just said no to that thought. Now, this was 20 some years ago. What's fascinating is now there's science to back that up. So you can rewire your brain
Mm-hmm.
by separating or pausing between the urge, especially we're talking about food, so food cravings, by the urge and pausing for a moment and making a different decision. And that's what I did. I paused by saying no, and then I made a different decision to act accordingly. And so I'm pretty excited. That's pretty awesome. Intuitively, I kind of had an idea what to do, and it worked, and it worked efficiently and effectively. Did it work overnight? No, I wish I could promise that. Everyone's looking for that pill, and if I
Right.
was, I would be gazillionaire, but I don't. There isn't one. If anybody tells you that there is, they are lying. I see those ads every day,
Right. Yeah, I know.
and yeah, it's not true. But
It
that's how it happened. That was a turning point, is when I decided to stop dieting.
it really truly is about mindset. And I love how you share about there is a saying, and I share this quite often. One day I decided I didn't want to feel like that ever again, so I stopped just like that.
Mhm.
And that goes along with what you mentioned about what you want has to be equally as painful to obtain as the pain that you're experiencing by your current situation.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
you know, and you're right. It's not a magic pill. It's not something that happens just like that. Now, the decision can happen in an instant.
Right.
That then creates that mindset that cultivates a different behavior and then a different reality. But you know, yeah. And so, share with me and my audience a little bit more about. So, yeah, and it's not about going from 0 to 1,000 over in an instant, 0 to 1, 1 to 2. But what happens is as you are slowly cultivating these small habits that are sustainable, it opens you up to then creating more and more. So tell me about your journey in that respect.
Well, once I stopped the criticism and the judgment and actually realized that I was an okay person, and
Yes.
that was the first step I had to get to. So it's about taking small steps towards whatever you are trying to obtain. I don't care if it's stop smoking. I don't care if
Mhm.
it's weight release. I don't care if it's relationships. It's always taking small steps. Here's what is common from most of the people who come to me and work with me as a private client. regardless of what they're trying to accomplish, here's what they say to me. I know what I'm supposed to do, and I can't get myself to do it. And that's exactly what you're talking about. That's all mindset. That's self-sabotage. That's belief systems. And
Yes.
they can't necessarily, and it's a subconscious mind. Why is it programmed to sabotage yourself? Because it's comforting. It's
Yes.
comfortable. And the whole brain and mind's job is to keep you safe. And if that
Mhm.
means miserable and fat because you're used to it, then that's what's going to happen. The decision can be made in an instant. That a client just recently decided to stop smoking, and she has
Right.
not for 2.5 months. We've been working together on the emotional components around that, but that decision happened. Actually, it happened over a period of time. Sometimes it feels like it's a minute or a second, but it happened over a long period of time, about a year. She was thinking about it. And then when the decision happened, she was ready. And
Right.
maybe that's the difference why it feels like it's like that, because it wasn't. In most
Right.
cases, it's a period of exercises or a period of experiences, and we're just done. We've had enough, and that's when the decision's made. And that's what's happened for her. So a lot of the mindset is around emotional support for releasing these belief systems, these core belief systems that you're operating by that you don't even know.
Mhm.
And they're programmed in your subconscious mind by society, by growing up, your family, your environment, advertisements. 3-year-olds
Mhm.
know what the golden arch. I mean, 3-year-olds not only, but younger yet, they can't even speak, and they will point to the golden arches as you drive by because they know what it is from
Uh-huh.
the competition.
Mhm.
And so that's how we're programmed. No fault of anyone,
Right.
not shaming anyone, not guilting anyone. That's just how it happens. But what's really fascinating, and this is what I learned at 16, we can actually reprogram it, and we have so much power to do that. Why isn't that taught in school? Why aren't we taught how to manage our thoughts and our feelings, and that
I'm
we have
getting cold
control?
chills right now.
Yeah.
I'm getting cold chills because that is where it starts.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning anything in life, regardless of whatever mindset that we wind up having and carrying out as an adult, it starts in our early years. And God, it must have, in the early 2000s, I remember thinking that there needs to be a curriculum
Mm-hmm.
mandated, taught in every single school system around the entire world that starts at kindergarten as soon or even before then, maybe
Yeah.
even in preschool, as soon as one can understand and conceive language, where you're learning about what you're talking about, the learning self-worth, self-value, about self-awareness, about your possibilities, your capabilities, what you can do. Anything is possible. And, so many grow up in unfathomable, unexplainable, horrific circumstances. And not to go into any, details
Yeah.
of people that I know and what they endured as children, but it's like when you go to school every day, which everybody has to go to school. I mean, I think it's against the law to not to, even though I know we're homeschooling due to COVID, et cetera. But it's like if we get back into everyone going to school, that every day aside arithmetic and spelling and PE and history and science, that 1 hour a day, there is that curriculum that teaches you true life skills,
Yeah.
not just those. I mean, those are, all those curriculums are important too, but true life skills. So, I mean, and imagine how much better the world would be if more and 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 more people
Mm-hmm.
grew into adults who were self-aware, taking personal responsibility, not being in victimhood and not seeing themselves as, oh, well, my parents did this, or, I was treated this way, or I saw my daddy do this. And they really, like, I'm responsible. I'm empowered. I can take,
Mm-hmm.
I can create my life. And I think, and that's where, but you and I'd be out of a job. You know what I'm saying? But there would be no need for us because everybody would be I'm not saying that this isn't woo woo. This isn't la la land bullshit. I mean, the more self aware and the more concerted you are with taking direct action, living with intention and on purpose with your life, the better and higher of quality of life you're going to experience. Doesn't mean that you're not going to have obstacles and
Right.
challenges and bullshit happen in your life, but then you're going to have a healthier mindset.
Oh, I
Yeah.
absolutely agree. Everything you said, I absolutely agree. And actually, and you're right, it does start the moment you're born, because from the moment you're born until about 6, 8 years old is when the subconscious mind is programmable. And it's not only words that people say to you, it's the feeling behind the words, and
Mhm.
it's the experiences, and it's the observation. So kids are watching all the time, and they are acting what they see. And so it's really, I don't understand why, like you said, why it's not important. Now there are some charter schools that teach
Yes.
meditation. There are some private schools
Yes.
that teach this type of thing, and that's helpful. But it's not,
It's not enough.
unfortunately. Yeah, it's not the person who works at the convenience store that understands or realizes that they have more ability in their life than they ever thought. And
Yes.
not that I used to be a cashier at a rest or at a
Yeah.
grocery
And
store,
not,
so I get it. I know I was at that place at one point in my life too. I understand it. I just thought, well, this is the way my life's going to be.
right.
And lo and behold, what happened is through the work through, like you said, mindset, belief systems, core beliefs, I ended up running $1 million department stores and being the buyer for a Big Ten university bookstore, which was fascinating because I was spending someone else's money, and it was so
Hell
much fun.
yeah.
I mean, it was a lot. It was a great job. I mean, I loved it, but then I
Mhm.
wanted more. And that's the human experience. Once you know that you have this, that you want more, but not only do you want more, you know how to achieve it. And I don't mean like the hows. I mean, you know that you can go back to your belief systems, and you can, and your mindset, and say, so what is it that's stopping me from
Mhm.
letting go of the belief that I can whatever at XYZ. I wanted to be a buyer for like a amusement park or a theme park. It never came about because God seemed to have a different approach for me. And that's when I got back into hypnosis, and which I learned at 16, by the way, but not at school.
Mhm.
And from there into coaching and specialize in weight release, because so many women, especially men too, but so many women are hiding, sometimes behind their weight, but they're hiding behind who they can be.
Mhm.
And they feel badly about it. They don't understand what's this. Here's another thing a client will say to me: I am so successful in all areas of my life except for this. Why can't I get this?
Mhm.
And so we work on understanding not only the why, but the what happened, what may have caused this. I had one woman who was eating an entire loaf of home baked bread that a friend would give her at church. And it was obviously causing her weight issues. She was successful in all other areas in her life, had a great,
Mhm.
like, 50-year marriage. She was still working, and she loved her career
Yeah.
and the kids' relationship. Everything was great except for this concern, especially around health,
Mhm.
of these few extra pounds, and feeling ridiculous eating a whole loaf of bread on the way home that was
Right.
supposed to be for her to share with her husband. And she did the things that we would all do, right? She put it in the backseat of the car, and only to stop and get it out and eat
Yeah.
it. She
Right.
put it in the trunk of her car and still stopped and got it out and ate it all anyway. And then her friend found out and made her 2 loaves of bread to take home. And she's like, "This has got to stop."
So,
So
yeah.
what we
So
found
would
out, so I mean, how share kind of what we work. What we found out is when she was in school as a
Mhm.
child, she would come home from school. Her mom had fresh baked bread every day coming out of the oven, sliced it for her, put warm butter on it as it's melting, sat her down at the kitchen table, and there was that feeling of being loved, that
Right.
feeling that everything was all right with the world, even though her mom wasn't very affectionate. And that feeling she was craving,
Excuse me.
which resulted in eating all the bread, because what has happened is her marriage of 50 years, he was having issues with dementia, which meant that she would have to leave her career that she loved, which meant everything in her life would change. So the only thing that helped her feel loved and comforted was that bread her friend was making her. And
Right.
once we uncovered all of that, she didn't have to do that anymore. Matter of fact, her friend was giving her the 2 loaves. They were both making it home, and her husband was eating it all. So that's the type of that hopefully shows you or sheds some light on
Mhm.
how this works. That we start with whatever the issue is that you want to resolve, and then we kind of work backwards and then work forwards.
Absolutely. And I just really want to quick say that I want to apologize to my viewers and listeners. I see that there are people on. However, my fault due to operator error and technology. The reason that I'm not seeing your comments, if you're commenting, is because for some reason, my settings in StreamYard are automatically set to friends only, and I was trying to change that, and my brain wouldn't work, and I couldn't change it to public. So I will be fixing that, just to let everyone know. But so I have another question, Vickie. Would you agree that one of the worst statements that we were ever told, excuse me, told as a child is, "Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me"?
Yeah, that's a big sigh. Yeah, I used to hear, what's the saying? Fatty, fatty, 2x4 can't get through the kitchen door kind of thing. And that's what the doctor said to me when I went in to get
Hmm.
those speed. I didn't know speed at the time as an appetite suppressant. And words are very powerful.
Hmm.
And there's lots of TED Talks about words and how
Yes.
powerful they are.
Yes.
And and put together the tone that the word is spoken,
Hmm.
the energy behind the word, then it intensifies or deflates the word depending on how it's intended
Hmm.
to be heard by the person that you're saying it to or is being said to you. And that's also how sometimes through text and email, we don't always get
Right.
the,
I know it's
the
like,
meaning,
oh,
right? Because
really?
my
Yeah.
interpretation of that word is different than their interpretation of the word. And so there's a misunderstanding in
Yeah.
communication. And so, yes, words are very, very powerful. And that doesn't mean to be afraid of speaking up. It doesn't mean to be afraid of, hurting someone's feelings. There are consequences to what we talk about. So be aware of it. But as soon as you realize that someone is affecting someone in a way that you didn't expect it to, then apologize for that, because that wasn't
Right.
really the intention. Now, some people use words as intention,
Hmm. Hmm.
and
Oh, absolutely. They can
yeah,
have a positive or a negative effect.
yeah,
Most recently, one of my clients, he's successful in just about every area of his life. I mean, running over $1 million business, et cetera. But he's like, "I'm not happy," and I'm like, "Well, tell me about that." And he's like, "Well, I can't do this and I can't do that, and I grew up like this, and this was said to me," and it's like, and he's like, and the whole "I can't" and "I'm not" that he was putting in front of a sentence. It's like, well, first off, you got to watch how you're talking to yourself. So the root cause of what we're working on is your own self-belief based upon whatever experiences, and how to turn those experiences into something that's for you and through you instead of to you. And then you can change, that, oh, wow, I this instead of I can't, or, so, and
yeah.
yeah,
And here's the thing: is that sometimes we may have had parents that said things like, "Well, you're just stupid, so therefore
right.
or you're clumsy," or whatever it might be, and it may have been innocent enough as, "Oh, you're just clumsy," when they're at a holiday gathering and you spill something.
Yeah.
But yet, again, newborn to 8, you're being programmed, and so that belief system becomes a reality. And so you keep, and that's where my second book comes along. You keep making sure that that belief is proven right every
Exactly.
single time. So
Yeah.
your actions reflect, "Oh, I'm clumsy." And every time that you drop something, regardless how it's happened, "Oh, I'm clumsy." And those words keep programming that's your truth. So you're going to keep
Mhm.
proving them right
Mhm.
until you question them or until
Yeah.
you become curious about them.
One of my favorite sayings is, "Whether you think you can or whether you think you can't.
Yes, I love
Either
it.
way, you're right."
Yeah,
Yeah.
Henry Ford said that, and
Mhm.
I love quotes, but that's my number
Yeah.
one all time, because that basically says whatever you're thinking, you're right.
Yeah.
If you don't want it to be right for you anymore, then stop thinking that way.
Yeah, and it's like, your mind creates your reality. You get what you
Mhm.
focus on.
Right.
That's actually written on the side of a picture. I'm actually looking at it right now over there on a wall. And so again, it's not that this certain situation didn't happen to you or you
Right.
didn't go through this. Um, but it's all about the mindset and looking at the situation from a different perspective, and how it can be something that you can take and create something better for yourself.
Absolutely. And
You
here's the
know,
thing that both of us do. And this is not, as you said, something about woo woo, and I'm
right.
known as that, right? You know, the woo woo or voodoo gal. Sometimes they call me that too. Here's the thing behind, I'm left brained. I am very analytical. Everything that I use with my clients is science based, and there's physics behind everything that we're talking about. And
Mhm.
there's science and there's research to show us that what the observer effect, for instance. So a particle is either there or not there, depending on the intent of the scientist. It's either a wave, which is that seen, or it's a particle. And
Yes.
they've proven that over
What
and
the
over
bleep? Oh
again.
my God, you're speaking like
Yeah,
verbatim. What was his? What was the Indian guy's name? Yeah, it's either a wave or it's a particle.
right.
Yes.
Exactly, based on their intention and their observations. So what does that mean about day-to-day life? What that means is whatever you're thinking and feeling is being vibrated out to get the experience you're expecting or intending.
Hmm.
So if you're always saying, I am stupid or I'm clumsy, then, and that feeling is there that yes, it's true, then it will continue to be true. And here's what we're both saying is you have the opportunity to change that. Now, it's not easy as possible, but it's not easy to do it alone. And that's why there's coaches like you and I, so that we can help make it easier for you. And
Right.
many times you are aware, but you don't want to acknowledge. And you know, your head's in the sand. And I get that. It's scary to look at my own stuff. That's why I have coaches,
Yeah.
because they push me outside of my comfort zone for my own good. And that's what we do too, is we maybe push. Yeah, there's times I'll push. There's also times I'm going to take you by the hand and pull you up, and there's also times
Right.
we walk together. You know, but that's what is important about what our work we do is that it can change for you regardless of whatever circumstance you have been raised in, whatever
Right.
circumstance you have had, how many times you have failed. I'm not saying you can do everything because I could never be a premier ballerina. I just couldn't. One, I've never taken a ballet class in my life. I took tap when I was 5, and when the recital came about, I was so shy. I'm like, I'm not doing that, and I quit. Um,
Right.
so I just couldn't do that.
Right.
You know, no matter how much I wanted to. Now, could I take bar classes? Absolutely. Could I take dance classes? Sure. You know, I could do that. So we're not saying you can get everything you want because you can't, but if you want to be thinner, if you want to be, you know, want to change your mindset about things, that can happen. And it's,
Hmm.
you and I both have testimonials after testimonials of
Yes.
how we've helped people get through that.
Absolutely. You know, and just the fact that you brought up some of the verbatim language that I know is one of my favorite documentaries, What the Bleep Do We Know?
Mhm.
This is something I've been wanting to talk about. Have you been watching the documentary on Netflix? Well, there's also one on Stars I just started about the Nexium, the
Mm-mm.
cult. Okay. Well, then I'm not even going to ask you about
I'll have
that.
to go listen to it.
Well, the reason, and you'll understand, is that I am a little bit afraid because the concept of what we're discussing today and the concept of what the Nexium was supposed to be and do for people is real and is correct. Changing your mindset, getting out, literally getting out of your own way. Again, dismantling whatever happened through you as a child that's now creating this way in which you're existing and living and carrying out your life, and limiting in many areas the potential that you have. But this wound up being a cult.
Oh,
And yeah, I mean, I highly advise watching the documentary. I think, especially for us and the work that we do, it's important that we watch this and see what is now has the potential to dismantle or derail what it is that we do, because people are, if they watch that documentary, they're going to be like, oh, all this, positive thinking is a bunch of bullshit. It's all, this is a cult. This is a cult mentality. And I'm just I don't want it to wind up giving, the like people like us who have a real heartfelt desire to help others improve their quality of life, um to give that a bad name, like, oh well, anybody, even like somebody like Tony Robbins, all their it's all, that's all cultish thinking. We are all victims. So it's on, if you have Netflix.
yeah, I have to
um
look it up.
it is, I can't remember. I think it's Seduced on Stars. It's called Seduced.
Okay.
What's her name? Catherine Oxenberg's daughter was a
Okay.
part of this cult for like 7 years. And then the one on Netflix is called, I can't remember, but I definitely watch it because I think when we're out here trying to obtain clients and show people the real value of what we can help them achieve, um, if they have that in their mind, and again, whether you think you can, or whether you think you can't, if you're like this about, self work, and people who like us are out here,
Mhm.
doing this with others, you go, oh, see, validation, validation. I
Well,
watch this. Those
here's
people
the
were
here's
leaving the
the
cult.
thing. Whether you are in control of your mind and mindset, which I choose to be, or you're being programmed by other people, even
Yeah.
as an adult. When Sigmund Freud's nephew came about, he studied all of his uncle's material. And what he discovered was how to use it for marketing and advertising. And since that
Yeah.
time, that is how marketing and advertising has been written and produced because it influences you and they know how to influence you. And if you're not aware of that, then you are being influenced, you are being programmed by other people, regardless if it's whatever, your intention is really important. Like we just talked about, is it a wave or a particle? So my intention is I just don't attract those kind of clients that have that kind of belief system. However, if you don't do anything, you're programmed every single day by other people and other situations, including your past and your childhood. But on a day-to-day basis, they know how to influence you and
Hmm.
influence your thinking. So who would you rather be? Who would rather be in charge of your thoughts? Yourself?
Hmm.
Because the things that you're saying to yourself about yourself probably aren't really from your own voice. And if they are, they started with someone else's. So, and that someone else could be an advertisement that made you feel like you weren't thin enough, or an advertisement in a magazine. When I was younger, I looked at those magazines and went, oh my gosh, I could never be that thin. Well, now come to find out they Photoshop them. So they look thinner than they really are, or more in shape than they really are. So we're being influenced whether we like it or not. Wouldn't you like to be aware of it so that you can have a choice about how you're being influenced? Because they're not doing it for your benefit. I can
Right.
guarantee you that. They're doing it so you'll spend money on their product.
Right. Right, exactly. And the whole power of advertising. And I remember when I was a little kid and Bill Cosby was advertising for Coke. But my mama loved Pepsi. And I remember even as a little kid, because I always had questions. It's like, why are they using Bill Cosby? Just because Bill Cosby, likes Coke doesn't mean my mama likes Pepsi. But I got it. Like even early on, the concept of using someone famous and that everybody knows to influence people's buying decisions, and again, so yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's fascinating, this whole idea of how everyone is being influenced and how easily it can happen. There's a program called Brain Games,
Uh-huh.
and
Yep.
if you watch that program, they will show you how you are being influenced to
Brain
come up with a
games.
response. Yeah, games, and if you to get the response that they want, not the
Where
one
can
that,
we
and
find
you
that?
think, yeah, you think it's yours, right? You
Where
think
can we
it's yours.
find the brain games?
Um, it's I believe it's on, we have Comcast cable, so it's
Okay.
on, they're on
Okay.
demand.
Gotcha. And there were that I wanted to ask another question. Brain games. Oh, I don't even remember. Just about, the whole advertising and et cetera, and how it
Mhm.
infiltrates. Oh, I know what it was. Have you ever noticed, and this occurred to me about a year or so ago, just in watching the commercials, everything we're being conditioned subconsciously that we can't afford shit. Think about it. Every commercial that's advertising a product, oh, there's a sale, 20% off this weekend only. Everything is about marketing to you in a discounted way. And what is that programming our minds to think? So, a lot of impoverished thinking as well
Yeah,
is subconscious.
and that's
And I was
yeah,
like,
absolutely. That's an
wow.
interesting concept because I hadn't thought about it that way. And look about it, for women especially. Someone says, "Oh, that's a beautiful dress." You go, "Oh, I got that at Dress Barn for $10."
Right. You always
You
you
know?
always talk about how much money you saved on something.
Yeah.
My parents do that. Oh, we got 2 for 1. I mean, it's like, and I've corrected. I'm like, please stop talking about what you got on sale or what you got on discount, because that is a subconscious programming of you can't afford, there's never enough money.
Mhm.
So anyway, well, Vickie, tell us how we can get a hold of your book. And don't you have a special offer going on for my people?
Well, actually, I have a couple of things. So you can reach out to me at Vickie Griffith at break-through.org for my book. You can also get it on Amazon. Break-through.org is my website, and just go under books and it's there. So my newest book. And you get to Amazon, you can find my older book on there as well. So that's a possibility. If you are having issues with food around this time of year, especially, and we could do a whole nother segment about what
Yep.
this experience has done with people with emotional eating, even those that weren't emotional eaters. Uh, so most groups will tell me that if they could only crush their cravings, they would be able to stay on some kind of program. Again, I started out, don't diet during this time of year till New Year's. Do not go on any diet. That doesn't mean to go hog wild either. It means be aware of what you're eating. And so if you want to be more aware of what you're eating and to crush your cravings, I can show you how to do it in 30 seconds. And that's at crushcravings.com. And that's free.
Are you willing to share a little bit of an example of how to do that? Or,
It's a little difficult. If we had at least 15 or 20 minutes, I would
oh, I
show
see.
you a little bit of it. I will tell you this as a warning, and I put this on the website too. I used to do this. I used to travel around and show people how to do this, part of my speech. It still is. I can still show you how to do it virtually, but I used to hand out chocolate kisses. And
I think,
I love chocolate Hershey's hot chocolate kisses. I love them, love them, love them.
yeah.
And then one day I felt a craving for chocolate, and I have 3 to 5 pounds of these things in my office at all times and never even thought about going to them. And when I did, it tasted terrible. So, not that chocolate tastes terrible to me. Once you get that clear, I love chocolate, eat it every day, but just not that. But I have had people in the last 15 years come back to me 15 years later and say, I was in that workshop where you showed us how to use this technique with chocolate, and I haven't eaten chocolate since. And my response is always, I'm not sure if I should say I'm sorry or congratulations. Tell me how I need to respond. And they're like, oh no, it was great. I used to eat pounds of chocolate every night, and now I've released 20 pounds. So it's been awesome for them.
Mhm.
But yeah, it can actually go to that extreme. But people will lose their cravings in 30 seconds or less, and they're like, well, how did that just happen? And then expect to have a craving back, and it doesn't come back. So
Oh,
it's
wow.
yeah, it's
So, but I mean, you could still eat the chocolate. It's just you don't have the craving for it.
right.
Okay.
Right. And I share with people, especially around food, there's a difference between want and need. So
Mhm.
I might want a Snickers bar or something like that and think about it, but go, whatever. If
Right.
I need one, I am looking for the next convenience store on my way home. I can stop and I know that they have them. So that's the difference. And it can help you in either one of those. So even in the need scenario, it will help you release that need.
And that's probably how you're helping your clients quit smoking and other
Oh,
addictions.
absolutely. So I have clients that come to me just like yours, very, very successful CEOs,
Yeah.
CFOs, COOs. I have business owners, $1 million plus businesses, and I also have salespeople that come to me and say, I know what I need to do. How do I get myself to do it? So because they want to increase their sales. So all layers and levels of people who are stuck. That's how my first book came about. How they're stuck and they want to get unstuck,
Mhm.
and so I can help them through that path.
That's awesome, Vickie. Well, Vickie, thank you so much. You're gonna share with me the links to all of this because I know people are like, "What? How do you spell that? How do you
I know.
hyphen?" So share with me the links, and I'm gonna post them in the comments. And again, I apologize not being able to see people's comments. I will get that fixed now that I know exactly what the reason is for not being able to see people's comments. It might just take me a little while because I'm not necessarily tech savvy. But
Okay, great.
yeah, so we're going to share with you all the ways in which you can get a hold of Vickie, as well as her books. And thank you so much for everyone. I did see there were several people on watching live. So thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for joining us today. And Vickie, thank you so much for sharing this wisdom with us today. And all right, everybody, till next time. And I'm probably going to be furloughing Empowered Conversations for a couple weeks, just due to the last couple weeks of the holiday. Take a little bit of a
Yeah.
break. I'm still in the process of decorating my house. That usually it's done in a day. I pull the decorations down, decorations are up, and all the other stuff is put up, and it's taken me like 4 days. And so anyway, but Vickie, again,
I
thank you
do.
so much for
Well,
joining
thank
us on
you.
Empowered Conversations. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Happy holidays.
Yes. Happy holidays.